Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. If you can, go over there in the chat and just say, yes, we can hear you. Let me know we got the technical aspect of this correct at least. Perfect, awesome. Well, everybody, thank you for joining me this morning. I really appreciate your time. Officially welcome to the How to 10X Your Video with Modular Content. We'll give a little bit of time for some other people to join. Yeah, I'm excited to share this with you. I've been kind of developing this method of content production and delivery really over the last 2 years, tweaking things here and there, modifying things, experimenting, trying to perfect a more usable content method for video, specifically for B2B marketers. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. Hopefully you see the value in it and you're able to take what you learn here and use it in your business and your marketing. While we're waiting for anyone else to join, if you would, go to the chat, and I know some of you already did this when you registered for the webinar, but if you would, go there and let us know what the number one thing is that's preventing you from using more video in your marketing. And we've already heard a number of things, but the more feedback we get from you, the more we can really understand some of the limitations you have in your business, the more we can kind of tailor the information we bring and the services we bring to better suit the B2B marketer's needs. So if you would, just hit up the chat and just say, hey, this is the number one thing that's stopping me. If you have a number two and number three thing, you can share that as well. But that really helps us out. So feel free to do that while we give just one more minute, I think, to see if anybody else is going to be joining us. All right, let's go ahead and get this rolling because I'm sure you have better things to do than listen to me all day. So first and foremost, the need for content. We have a need to consistently communicate with our audiences, but there's a reason why. Our audience is out there consuming content on a daily basis. And if we want our audience's thinking to align with our thinking, we need to be communicating with them. And obviously we need their thinking to be aligned with our thinking if we ever want to sell them something. We need for them to believe in our solution. So that's the primary reason why we need to be continuously communicating with our audience. Some companies try to do that with their sales team. They try and do it on a one-to-one basis. And that's great. And there's nothing wrong with a cold outreach approach or a warm outreach approach. But the reality is, on a one-to-one basis, you are never going to be able to speak to your entire audience. And that's really where the value of content comes in, where we can utilize one message and get it to a mass of people. Content continually allows you to present to your audience who you are, what you believe in, the problems that you solve, and provide proof that your solution actually works for customers like them, which is important if they're going to spend money with you. But when we say continual content in B2B land, we often think of blog articles, newsletters, white papers, case studies, webinars, press releases, but there's something big usually left out. Where is the video? Most B2B think of video as one-off projects and not necessarily part of a continual content strategy. And that's flawed. As it turns out, 55% of people watch videos every single day. When we say people, we mean your audience. Video viewers retain 95% of a video's message versus only 10% when you're talking about a text-based content delivery message. 66% of people would rather watch a short video than reading text. So if video is this powerful medium, why aren't we using it more continually to communicate to our audience? This is actually the question that I was asking myself back in 2017. At the time, we were a full service marketing agency. We were serving B2B clients. We were incorporating video into a lot of our clients' campaigns. And what we saw was that when we used more video, our campaigns tend to perform better. So we tried to scope more video into our clients' campaigns. Obviously, we wanted them to be as successful as possible. But time and time again, we would run into a problem. When it came time to present the budget and how much things were going to cost and exactly how it was going to break down, there was one big line item on the proposed budget that continually got gutted, and that was the video line item. It was just very expensive. At the end of the day, the clients couldn't justify spending the amount of money that was going to be required on the video content they would need to fully incorporate it into their campaigns. So at the end of the day, we were stuck with a problem. All of our clients were needing more video, but none of them could really justify the cost. So why is that? What we came to is that a traditional approach to production that focuses on creating a single asset doesn't align with the needs of B2B companies. If B2B companies need to incorporate more video into the campaigns and communications that they're running, the focus can't be on a single asset, and that is what traditional production does. It focuses on a single asset that needs to be produced. So, how many of you here have experienced the vicious cycle from traditional production? You come up with a need for a video, you probably talk to multiple production companies and get a few quotes. Probably many times those quotes are higher than you thought they might be, but you're still able to get a budget approved, and you go into production, and many times it takes a little while longer than you thought it might to get your final asset. But when you finally get it, you finally get that video, you maybe use it in a campaign, it ends up on a landing page, maybe you post it to social media once, and then eventually it goes to your video graveyard, your YouTube channel that only sees action when you produce a video. So the big question is, how do we get away from that cycle? How do we get away from producing single assets? Because the truth is, the ROI just isn't there. When we put that amount of time and that amount of attention into creating a single asset, and then all we do is put it on a landing page, run one campaign, and throw it on our YouTube channel, it doesn't have the potential to give you the return on investment that you really need when you're investing in content. And this is really the reason why it hasn't been scalable. So the big question and challenge we faced was, how do we get away from thinking about and creating these single assets? What we did at the time is basically took a step back and we asked ourselves, okay, if we can't focus on single assets, what is everything that a client should be communicating with the medium of video? And we did this with a number of clients. We literally sat back and from start to finish, looked at basically all of the videos they should have, and then how we would produce those. So who would be on camera? Where would we do it? How much time do we need? If we were really planning it out, what would it look like? And we started to notice some things. We started to notice that many of the videos on a per client basis were going to be shot at the same location, or they would be around the same subject matter, the same product or the same service. They would even use the same thought leader or the same on-camera talent. So what we realized is that we could start batch producing. So the solution that we came up with initially was batch production. If we could strategically plan our content, again, we know all the content we need to produce for the client. If we could strategically plan it and match the like items, so take your on-camera talent, the same people on the same location, and actually produce more videos on a per production day basis, it was a partial solution to the problem. We were able to bring the cost of video down without killing the quality. And by doing so, we were able to deliver more video content for the client without completely murdering the marketing budget, which was one of the main goals that we had. How do we get the client more video without going in and really demolishing that budget? And this was a huge unlock for us and for our clients. Quite frankly, we got to use more video in their campaigns and honestly just deliver more value in those engagements than providing a single video. But it still wasn't a full solution. It didn't provide enough content to allow them to continually communicate with their audience with video. Sure, it provided more in their campaigns. It gave them an overview. It gave them service videos. It gave them a lot more than they had before. But when we looked at it and said, can they truly use this to continually communicate with that audience? The answer was still no. There was still single assets. There was just more of them that were possible with this particular method that we started using. So the question we asked ourselves is, how can we expand this content even further to provide more value? The solution actually came to us out of a situation that we ran into with a client. We were running a production. We were batching 2 different videos together to be shot on the same day. One was a company overview video. I think that was supposed to be about 2 minutes long, and one was a sales video that was going to be used in part of the sales process. We had lined up 4 different executives that would be interviewed that day on these two particular videos. So we had 1 day of production, 4 executives. Our goal was to create 2 videos. After the production day, and we did obviously conducted the 4 interviews, we interviewed each executive for about an hour. So we had 4 hours of footage from the executives. That then got passed to an editor on our team to start making the final videos. He elected to start with the company overview video and started that editing process. And his goal, again, was to deliver a 2-minute overview video. After hours of editing, he called me into his office and basically said, "Hey, look, I've narrowed this down to about 6 minutes, but these 6 minutes are really good. I know I have to get it to 2 minutes, but I don't know what to cut. Can you review it, take a look, see what you think, and let me know what should be cut out so that we can get to that 2-minute video?" I reviewed it. I reviewed the 6 minutes, and he was right. The 6 minutes was awesome. It was definitely content that their audience should hear about how they operate and how they actually benefit the customer that they work with. And it was very hard to select what 4 minutes would be cut down. And, I went back to him and we were talking about this, and, he let me know that there was a bigger problem, that not only was this 6 minutes good, but to make this video, he had actually pulled over 30 minutes of selects from the interviews that could be used in this video that were good. So, he had 30 minutes initially, and he had already narrowed it down to 6. So essentially what he had done is thrown away 24 minutes of awesome content to get down to that 6-minute version. And to get down to a 2-minute version, we had to throw away an additional 4 minutes of super valuable content. For me, that was a huge red flag and honestly a game changer for how we started operating. I looked at it and said, look, if we're trying to achieve more content, if we need more content for our clients and need to deliver more to them, why are we throwing away these valuable assets? Just because it doesn't fit this particular project doesn't mean that it can't be used in the future or used in a different way for that client. And unfortunately, as it turns out, this is the standard operating procedure for almost all B2B video production. Every single video you've probably ever produced follows this methodology. You don't see the valuable footage. Hell, I don't see the valuable footage. No one sees the valuable footage except for that editor, and their job, the thing we've assigned to them, is literally throw the majority of it away to produce one single video asset. Hopefully now you can see why I believe the traditional approach to video production isn't aligned with the needs of B2B marketers and B2B companies in general. It's literally designed to destroy much of the possible value that could be had every time we shoot video content. So in the end, that got me thinking, if we've been throwing away this value in these selected clips, what else might we be missing from the approach that we've been taking? So I gave the editor a complete new assignment. I said, hey, forget about these 2 final videos that we're trying to create. What I want you to do is go back to the 4 hours of footage, and I want you to review it all. And I don't want you to try and create a video. What I want you to do is pull every usable comment from the 4 interviews. So from the 4 hours, the 4 executives, everything that they said that has value, I want you to pull that footage and I want you to save it. That led us to solution number 2, which is modular content. If we can isolate all of the usable pieces from video that we shoot and turn them into modular components that we can strategically use and reuse, we'll be able to scale content much further. And more importantly, we won't be wasting that value that we could have. So when he did that, he went back to the 4 hours. He pulled all of the value that we could possibly get. He discovered over an hour and a half of usable footage. Now the question becomes, what do we do with an hour and a half of footage? Because we're originally tasked with creating a 2-minute video and a 3-minute video. So a total of 5 minutes. And now all of a sudden we have an hour and a half of footage that we could use. At the end of the day, we knew that our client wanted to consistently communicate with their audience, and we wanted to find the best way to use this hour and a half of footage to benefit them in this way and give them a tool to do exactly that. For all of us, the reality is that the majority of our audience and our prospects, our potential buyers, they're not necessarily consuming content on our websites, but they are consuming content on a daily basis on social channels. That means that we need to take our message where our audience already exists and is already consuming that content. So we focused our energy on creating social assets first. We took that footage and we figured out how much usable social content could we actually create from that hour and a half. And what resulted was 79 short form social assets that could be used on social media. Again, this client, it was B2B. Their primary focus was LinkedIn. These videos were going to be used on the company's LinkedIn page. And given that quantity, this gave them well over a quarter's worth of content for their LinkedIn channel. Obviously, this would help them in their mission to continually communicate to their audience. But that's not where we stopped. We actually looked at it and said, okay, we have these almost 80 assets. We have 4 executives. There was almost 20 per executive. What if we also empowered that executive to use that on their own personal LinkedIn profile, not just the company page, but also on their personal profile to expand the reach. So we've got the company's audience, but we also have that individual's audience. And if we're able to maximize both, we can expand the reach with the content and the message that we would want to get out there. At a pace of 2 posts per week, that would give each of those executives also about a quarter's worth of content. Ask yourself, how much more reach or consumption of your message would you be able to achieve if your content were produced and delivered in this way? Here is one example from one of the executives that was distributing this content. He was pretty excited, took some screenshots from his LinkedIn and actually shared them with me, and I'm sharing them with you now. But basically, in a week, his content reached almost 10,000 views, which had never happened to him before. And if you do a little math, if he keeps up this consistency in the course of a year, he will actually reach over 500,000 impressions. So just this one executive would reach 500,000 impressions. If we had that same result across the 4 executives, just their organic content alone would reach over 2 million impressions. And that is a lot of eyeballs on your content. And I might add, that's a lot of free eyeballs on your content. This is organic. This is not paid. So after we cut and delivered the social assets and started putting those into play, we next went back to our original objective, which was to create the 2 long form videos. Again, we had the overview video for the website that we needed to create, as well as the sales video. And we did go back and successfully create those. The result for that client on that single production day was 81 video assets. From this, you can tell modular video in general allows you to create a lot more value today. And that's fantastic. And in fact, from this client interaction, when they were expecting 2 videos and we went back and were actually able to give them 81, as you can imagine, they were very pleased with that. It was a game changer in how they approach their content and how they think about content. And honestly, it not only changed our relationship, but it also changed our business. It was a different way to produce and post-produce content that it was a better value. It's a way that you don't waste any of the value that you're creating during those days. And they valued it. They saw that it was important. And at that time, we started to change how we operate to align, to be able to deliver more value for more of our clients. But that led us to challenge number 3. How can we provide more value in the future? So providing more value today, that's great. But if we have these assets, is it possible to use them to create future value? And it is possible. You can, through the modular content method, create more value for the future if a few things exist. So the first thing, obviously, you have to be following a modular methodology. You have to be able to break down your content into usable assets that can be used in a multitude of ways. So it has to be processed in that way. The second piece, and this is important too, it has to be accessible. So many people get videos produced, but never actually get access to their raw content or see what was actually possible. They only get that final maybe 2-minute video. So you have to have access to all of your videos. And probably the most important component is that your assets have to be sortable and searchable. So when you have a need in the future, you have to be able to search and find what would be usable on whatever your new need is, whatever your new video that you're trying to create. You're going to have to go back into your archive and find, do we have relevant content to this particular new need? So you're going to have to be able to search that content. But if those things exist, you're going to be able to create future value out of the content you've already created by reusing those assets. And as you reuse them, obviously, you're getting more value, you're getting more return for the investment that you've made in the content. So the solution for this is a reusable asset library. If you have a reusable asset library, you are able to produce future assets sometimes without ever shooting additional footage. Which brings us to another story. There's a client that we have that we've worked with for a long time. And it's a heavy equipment company, local here in Houston. They were trying to put together a new campaign, and they wanted to promote some certain equipment that they had on order. There were some supply chain issues, and they were not able to get that equipment in, and they've been out of stock for a very long time. But they had an order that was going to be delivered, and they wanted to start promoting it so that buyers would come in and be ready to buy it when it arrived. But as you can imagine, the problem is we could not go in and shoot new video of this equipment because they didn't have it yet. It was coming in, but it wasn't there yet. So we could not shoot new video of this equipment for this campaign that they were wanting to run. And, they asked us, is there anything that we can do? I know we've shot some stuff in the past. Is it possible to maybe put together something? And, they were hoping to maybe cobble together a video. We went and reviewed all of the assets that we had created. We had this reusable asset library, or kind of version 1 of it. And we're able to go and look at it, comb through everything, find everything that was relevant to it. And in the end, we were able to successfully deliver for them on this campaign. They ran this campaign on 4 different social channels, in 3 different aspect ratios, and actually in 2 different languages. The total amount of videos was 54 assets that we delivered. There was 8 different video messages that were broken down into these channels. So we created not one video that they could use for their campaign, but we actually created a total of 54 assets for this campaign. And obviously this allowed them to successfully run the campaign, to start promoting this equipment before it came in. And from my perspective, and I think theirs, the impressive part is we were able to accomplish all of this without shooting any additional video. So they got totally new assets, didn't have to pay more for production, and were able to successfully run that campaign. And at the end of the day, that is the power of the modular video method. It's able to strategically plan your content to get more assets out of it immediately, and then also have those assets available for reuse in the future. So we go back to the beginning. How do we 10x your ability to create video content? If you plan and produce that content with batch production, and you batch your productions and find your like items so that you're able to produce more on a per production day basis, you break that content down through the modular video method into its usable components. You produce short form content and long form content for not just the company, but also the thought leaders and experts that might be on camera, that allow you to continually communicate to that audience. And you house your assets in some kind of reusable asset library that you have access to, and that allows you to sort and search. This will allow you to reuse those, and you will be able to, if you're doing it correctly, probably drastically more than 10x the video content that you're able to produce. So I'm sure a lot of you have questions. I know that is a lot of information to kind of blast at you, and probably a deviation from how most of you have thought about, and definitely how you've produced content in the past. But if you would, there is a question tab down in your bottom right. If you would, let me know what questions you have. I would love to answer them. Feel free to ask here. If I don't get to your question, or you think of it later, feel free to reach out to me. You can use that QR code. You can reach out to me via email or LinkedIn. I'm available to answer any questions you have here or afterwards. We've got one question from Phil. How long does the video library stay active? Good question, Phil. So it really depends. So we have our own proprietary video library that we've developed that is for use for all of our clients. Most of our clients are on a retainer type relationship, and we offer them the video library as well as some other technology pieces on a continual basis. But You don't have to use our reusable asset library. There are other tools out there. Probably the biggest one is going to be Brandfolder. So the keyword you're looking for is digital asset manager. They're really aligned to do more than just house video components, and they have to be tweaked a little bit to work effectively to do it. But you can create a reusable asset library from a tool like Brandfolder. There are others out there as well. Brandfolder is a little bit pricey. There are others out there as well that would allow you to maintain your assets over time. And the answer is, as long as you maintained a relationship with Brandfolder, or if you were one of our clients, as long as we had the relationship, that asset library would stay active. I would recommend storing those assets out of that library as well, just so you have them in case you ever wanted to switch systems or something of that nature. Hopefully that answered the question, Phil. So we got another question. What if a particular marketing campaign doesn't have applicable content? Do you have a recommended frequency for adding content to the library? So it really depends on a case-per-case basis. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're trying to run a campaign and you don't have applicable assets, this happens all the time with new clients, right? We haven't gone through a lot of cycles with them. We haven't shot everything that we might need to serve a new need. At that time, when that new need surfaces, we basically fit it into a ongoing production schedule. For most clients, what we're trying to do is shoot at least once per quarter. Things happen in your business, things change, you have new developments, you have new products that come out, you have new customer stories to tell. There's things that change in a business, sometimes monthly, sometimes quarterly. So if you can get in a cadence of having a quarterly shoot, or at the very least, maybe a biannual shoot, that is usually enough for most clients. The only time I would say that is not enough, we do have a few clients that do a bulk of customer stories, and they like to do one once a month because they like to stay on that cadence to introduce that content to their audience with a new customer story per month. There's also some that will do things like video podcasts or something like that has a more frequent cadence. But again, it really depends on the actual client and what their needs are. Got a question from Jeff. Do you provide the service, or do you provide the service, or do you just have tools we can use ourselves? The answer is we provide a service. I do want to point out that you do not have to use our service to benefit from this method. As long as you are going through kind of this methodology, as long as you're kind of planning in bulk to maximize your production days, as long as it's being broken down in the way that we described, and as long as you're housing it in a reusable way, you're able to use this method. I will tell you, it was quite a journey for us to get here. It is possible for you to replicate this. There's some in-house teams that I've talked to that have maybe an in-house videographer or two. So it is possible to build an in-house video team, maybe 2 people, something of that nature, and run a play similar to this with similar technology. So I think you could get it done that way. I think it's possible that you could get other production companies to act in this manner, although I can tell you it's going to be challenging. Their business model is not set up for this. And when you go in there and tell them that you want to run multiple videos on a production day, and then you want them to start breaking it into all usable components, and then you want them to deliver, in that case, 81 assets, your price is going to start to get rather high. You're going to run into some issues with them not wanting to give you all the footage. Most traditional production, you may not know this, but most traditional production companies, the way the contract is you own the final deliverable, the 2-minute video, and they actually own the rest of the assets. That's not the way we work, but that is the way most companies will operate. So when you start asking to use all of the assets that they shot for you, you might run into some roadblocks there. So that's a question you're going to want to ask ahead of time. But given the right production partner, you may be able to run this play with another production provider. I got another question. Can you turn my existing videos into modular content? That's a good segue out of what we were just talking about. So it really depends. You can take a 2-minute video and break down the components of that, but the reality is, as we've already talked about, from that 2-minute video, that's only a fraction of the value. The real value was in that raw footage. So yes, if you were able to get the raw footage that created that video, it can still be broken down into modular content. Again, the issue you might run into is if that production company has a business model that basically they own that content, that might become challenging. There might be some extra cost involved, but it's definitely possible. As long as the files exist, it can be broken down into modular content. Let's see. Jeff also asked the cost range for the service that we provide. We have a few different packages, and they really range, anywhere from $4,000 a month to $15,000 a month. It really depends on the client's needs and what they're looking for. And obviously they have different things included, different levels of service and such. It really depends on that client. But again, this method isn't only for our services. You can use this outside of us. It's truly a different way to think about your video content that opens up the possibility to getting more. So in no way do I want this to be a sales pitch for what we do, but really open your mind to, if we stop thinking about video as a single asset, we can probably create a lot more value for our organization. And that's really the goal that we wanted to get to today. Another question: what would be the first step to start modular video? The first step, I would say, is one of two things. Either start with the planning, or to start figuring out how you could actually start producing content like this. So if you start with the planning, you're going to take a wide view and you're going to look at all of the message components that you want to get to your audience. Take off the constraints that you've had for so long of, we can only produce one video, or we can only do this, or we can only, if you just demolish those limiting beliefs for a second and just ask yourself, if everything were possible, how would we communicate to our clients? What would we say? How would we say it? And literally plan that out with video first. As it turns out, if you start with video, almost all other forms of content can be derived from it. So if you have your thought leaders on video and you're interviewing them about certain subject matters, that is basically all of the content you would need to fuel blog articles, newsletters, webinars, you name it. It is a great starting point for content. So whether you get to actually create all the videos or not, it's just a really freeing way to start thinking about the content you should be creating for your company. Once you have that, that'll give you an idea of the level of video that you could create or might want to create. And then again, you're going to have to find out, how do we actually produce this level of content? Obviously that's what we do. There are other options. You can try to do this in-house. Like I said, there are groups that do in-house a video team. Essentially, it's usually a 2 to 3 person team that is added to a marketing team. It's possible for them to figure out how to run a play like this, and that's one way to attack it. The other way would be to interview some production companies and see if they would be willing to operate in this way, and see if the cost that they would charge to operate in this way are aligned to what basically is possible for your organization. Let's see if we got anything else. Anybody else have any questions or anything that I haven't covered that you would like to cover? Okay, got a new question. Do you guys help with scripting informing the video based on our needs and offer suggestions along the way, or do we need to come with exact ideas and we just implement them? Great question. So it really depends. Again, our different service levels are based on the client need. We will help our clients think through what should be created. On our middle and upper tier package, we actually do a full strategic workshop where we go through and kind of help you unpack that. So it really depends, but generally, yes, we help with the creative concept. We can help with the overall content strategy itself. So both from an umbrella, the entire content strategy, or a creative concept for an individual asset or series of assets. And as far as scripting, no, we don't do scripting. We don't have a copywriter on staff. We can help if you have the ideas of generally what you want to say. We can help formulate that idea into what I would consider what would be video ready content, or what is more naturally spoken versus the way a written word is going to come across. So I wouldn't call it scripting, but yes, we can help you with scripts if it's needed. If you truly need a copywriter, that would be a third party that we would have to bring in. I would say that for most content, especially B2B content, scripting is not our preferred method to produce it. Many times our executives, our thought leaders, let's be honest, they're not actors. The camera is not something that they're super used to, and putting them on camera with a script, many times it feels very scripted. It feels many times inauthentic. So what we prefer do is a number of methods that we would present to you. One, we can do basically use the teleprompter to do like a Zoom type presentation. It creates a very comfortable environment where a thought leader can talk directly to a camera. In fact, I'm using one right now. You can talk directly to a camera. You can still see a screen. So you can put somebody's face on the screen and actually interview that thought leader, giving them the ability to basically feel like they're in a Zoom meeting, reducing probably some of the anxiety that they would have. But it allows them to look directly at the camera and do production that way. We also help with executive or thought leader interviews. So once we know what we need those experts to say and how we need them to present that information, we can help craft the interview questions and actually even conduct the interviews that gets that information out of that thought leader or subject matter expert. Last call for questions. Anybody else have anything before we end this? We've got about 7 minutes left. Okay. Well, we'll see if any more questions come in while I wrap this up. But at the end of the day, like I said, my goal is really to share kind of what we've been working on for over a year now, and have successfully kind of honed down into a system that is working very well for us. It's delivering very well for our clients. In fact, all of our new relationships are now on this model, and we're transitioning our existing relationships into this model as we speak. At the end of the day, it's just giving more value to our clients and allowing them to communicate more seamlessly with their audience, which is really what we all need. Hopefully you were able to gain some value from this. Hopefully you were able to see how this could allow you to not only think differently about the video, but actually put it in action for your company and have a greater depth of communication with your potential customers and a greater consistency of communication. Because as we all know, the more we're able to communicate, the more they're able to understand who we are and the value that we provide, the more likely it is that they're going to align with our way of thinking and eventually become our customer, which we're all in business. That is our ultimate goal. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate y'all coming. After this recorded video will be available. It will be emailed to you. So feel free to watch it again. Again, if you have questions that didn't get brought up here, feel free, shoot me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn, and shoot me a DM. I'd be more than happy to answer any additional questions you have. For those of you that were asking about our services specifically, you can contact me there and we can set up a time and I can run you through what that looks like exactly and see if it makes sense for your company. Again, everybody, appreciate it. Thank you for your time. There's one more thing I'll mention. This is the start of a new series for us. We have a number of different elements that we use internally to help our clients plan, produce, and actually deliver their content. And I mean, our main goal is for you to be able to be more successful with your client, whether you're, with your content, whether you're our client or not. So we'll be producing a series of these and we'll be rolling them out into 2025. So be on the lookout for additional webinars that will give you more insight on how you can more effectively use content, specifically video content, to continue to connect with your audience and win at the B2B marketing game. So everybody, thank you. Appreciate it. And I guess we'll see you next time. Thank you.